And once again, we are live. This is episode number 15 of Empire State of Baseball, live on this July 11th, 2022. I'm your host, Rich Rivera, and of course, being joined by only two hosts this time on this Monday evening. Corey Favs, Joe Pugliese. What's going on, gentlemen? How are we doing on this Monday?
Yeah, feeling good, man. Feeling good. Fun weekend. Nice, beautiful weather this weekend. Enjoyed the nice heat in the pool yesterday. Watching some big baseball games tonight with the Mets and Braves. I mean, Joe, how you liking coming up to this matchup here? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's obviously not the 10.5 game lead we once had, but, this makes for some compelling baseball in the middle of July and makes for, must-see baseball if you're a big baseball fan. This is the series you're tuning into this week with two teams at the top of the division chasing each other. And you got a great pitching matchup. You got two guys who are two of the best pitchers in baseball, Max Fried and Max Scherzer, going at it. Scoreless right here in the third. The Mets actually have a runner on second. Nimmo just hit a double, but it makes for great, compelling baseball and something that you want to tune into to watch and see what happens.
Definitely 100%. And Rich, Yankees 4-game series versus the rival Red Sox. Started off hot, had a couple of hiccups at the end, but overall, how you feeling right now?
Listen, you take a split. You take a split when you go to Boston. Always a tough fight with the Red Sox. That Fenway Park faithful is a raucous one, and you're happy with the split. You'll take it, and it's a shame because this team was on the brink of taking two more wins of that series, and with big leads, and they couldn't close it out. But overall, I'll take it. I'm satisfied. I'm not one of the disgruntled Yankee fans calling up the fan today and blowing up Boomer and Gio in the morning. I'm cool with the split. I'll take it.
Yeah, no doubt. 100%. I mean, listen, your Yankees right now still maintain the largest division lead in baseball.
You take a 14-game lead regardless. So it is what it is. Bad losses. They're going to recover back with the crap Cincinnati Reds coming into town tomorrow. So looking forward to it.
Exactly. But anyway, listen, Yankees doing good right now. Again, we just mentioned largest division lead, 14 games. Really, the only other team that's close to them right now in double digits is actually the Houston Astros. Again, big series we talked about recently with the Yankees and the Astros. Right now, the Astros, in my opinion, the only team that's going to challenge the Yankees for home field advantage throughout the playoffs with that first round bye. And getting home field throughout.
And ultimately, Corey, that's what this team's playing for. And Tom's talked about this on the show. And again, don't let your screen fool you. Tom is not here with us today. So this is a great day for all of us here at ESB. We're very excited to bring the show back exclusively to Staten Island, New York here. But we are, I think when it comes down to it, Tom has mentioned it before in the past, getting that number one spot in the American League is imperative. So if the Yankees have the AL East crown in the rearview mirror, and at this rate, it's going to take an epic collapse to lose ground to these teams. It's the Astros, and that is the goal right now: is getting that first place, getting that first round by choice, what have you, home field advantage against the Astros and the ALCS down the line. So I'd say that's the fight for this team right now.
Alonso just ripped an RBI double down the line, so the Mets have the 1-0 lead here in the top of the third. Rob brings up in the chat a good point. The Baltimore Orioles are hot.
You know what, Rob? Rob? You're absolutely right. The Baltimore Orioles are hot because now it's time for Bird Watch. Let's go.
Game under 500.
Have the best win streak in baseball, Joe. They're a game behind 500. They have 20 more wins, so you can wear a beautiful Yankee pinstripe jersey here on this very program. Are you excited, Joe?
I mean, I might as well get fitted for it because it's going to happen unless something crazy happens. Listen, who would, in all fairness, is there anyone on this planet that think that the Baltimore Orioles would be one game below 500 at near the All-Star break? I mean, come on here.
Yeah, Tom was really high on them. I thought the Orioles were much improved, and now clearly they are. I did not think they were going to be a 500 team, but I thought maybe they'd be like a 75-win team. But, Joe, there is some good news here for you. I mean, you do have 75 games left, so this does give you plenty of time to maybe win a raffle for a free Yankee jersey, pick the player you really want, ask around. So you do got time to pick which Yankee jersey you do want to wear that day. But anyway, that's going to be a very fun segment. You're not going to want to miss that when we do it later this season. But if you want to watch the segment where we do that, make sure you download our Twitch app and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball, because when that show goes live, you will get the notification right to your phone, and you will not want to miss that. Again, Twitch and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. If you want the link, you could also visit our Twitter bio at ESB Podcast.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the best way to get it done. Corey representing his Mets blue and orange as always. So let's get into it, Corey. Why not?
Yeah, let's go. We got a little Queen's Gambit action, as we just alluded to just prior to this segment. New York Mets versus Atlanta Braves. This is the hottest series of the week for New York sports. You have the first and the second best team in the NL East. Red hot Braves going off against the cooling New York Mets. Although the Mets got the 1-0 lead right now. Mets 53-33, 20 games over 500. Braves 52-35. That is a 1.5 game division lead for the New York Mets. Ironically, about this time a month ago, a little over a month ago, Mets had the largest division lead in baseball. They now have the smallest division lead in baseball at a game and a half. This is a very hot matchup and a phenomenal pitching matchup. I mean, tonight you get two absolute studs in Max Scherzer and Fried. Tomorrow, a little lesser with Peterson and Strider. And then another solid matchup, Bassett versus Morton on Wednesday. I mean, Joe, I'm going to start with you. Is it time for us Mets fans to hit the panic button? Because things are getting a little dicey right now in the NL East for Mets fans.
Listen, I don't think so. When you came into the season, you knew it was going to be a dogfight with the Braves, and some people even thought the Phillies would be there as well. And the Phillies are keeping themselves around in the race as well. But, you know, this is what the Braves do. We built up a 10.5 game lead off 2 terrible months from the Braves, but the Braves went 29-8 since June 1st, which is 21 games over 500. I don't care what division you're in. That is going to erode your lead no matter how well you play. The Mets were 19-16 in that same time frame, which, again, not the best baseball, but that is above 500 baseball after they were off to a red-hot start, and the Braves just played out of their minds. In any other division, the Braves would have gained probably 5 games or so, but, you know, they give them credit. They had a huge win streak. They've played red hot ever since. They haven't lost a series in recent memory. So, you know what? This is what we expected. This division is not going to be decided this weekend. This division's not going to be decided this month. This division's probably not going to be decided until middle of September or late September. Oh, yeah. These two teams are going to be neck and neck the rest of the way. And you know what? I'm not worried because I expected this, and I'm not worried because I have an owner, a GM, and a coach who's going to go out there, find the pieces that this team needs. In my primary concern is bullpen piece and a hitter. And Guillorme just blooped a single, so that was interesting. So I'm not worried about this. The Mets are going to go out there. It's not like when the Wilpons owned it, where I have to guess if they're going to give up anything to get a piece. I know they're going to go out and improve this team. I know they know what holes that this team has that it needs to improve. So for me, I'm not worried. Am I worried in the sense that, hey, we're in for a fight? Yeah, but I'm not worried that the Mets are cooked or they're not going to be in this because they're here for the long haul.
I got to ask you two gentlemen, what is the minimum for the Mets coming out of this series? Of course, they're going to Atlanta, another big baseball town, obviously World Series champs here. Do the Mets need to take all 3 games and make an absolute statement? Do they need to take at least 2 out of 3, or just one game and stay afloat on top of the division coming out of this series? What is the absolute bare minimum that this team needs to do?
Listen, on my side, I'm going to say you have to take 2 out of the 3. I'm not expecting a sweep. I'm not going to kill them if they don't get the sweep. But you really want to win this series to start calming down some of the nerves from the fans, start to build a little momentum, give the Braves a losing series. Honestly, I'm just taking a quick scan at the schedule because off the top of my head, I do not remember the last series they lost. They actually did lose against the Dodgers. They lost one against the Cubs when they ended that 13-game win streak, the Cubs. So that's the 2 last series they lost, the Braves. But right now, I want to slow the Braves' momentum. I want to get some positive vibes back with the Mets. You're up 1-0 right now, bases loaded, 1 out in 3rd inning. Let's get a couple more runs here. Get the win tonight. Then you have 2 games to get 1 more win. That's what I just want this Mets team to do. You don't have to go out and get the sweep, but if you go out here and God forbid get swept, but if you do end up losing 2 out of the 3, there's going to be a lot of angry fans out there in New York.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Listen, for me,
no, go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
For me, just don't get swept. That's it. If you lose 2 out of 3, you still have the division lead. The Mets are one of those teams that, again, is not going to make one series make or break for them. Oh, and Guillorme beat out of play. That's another RBI. So
Joe on the call. Joe on the call. Who needs Gary, Keith, and Ron?
Looks like Cano was just a smidge slow on the shovel to Swan.
Oh, can I call a spot this week? At some point late in the game, Edwin's going to try to close down a Mets win, and Robinson Cano is going to come up and hit a 2-run home run, walking it off and winning the game for the lineup off the guy that he was traded along with from Seattle. I'm calling it right now, baby. Story it, book it, whatever the fuck.
Guillorme's out.
That would be something.
That'll be a double play upon review.
That'll definitely be a double play. But, Rich, that would be some matchup, man. And you know what? That would be storybook. And baseball sometimes is just telling a story. And that would not be more storybook than that. Tactical Noob in the chat, Subway World Series. Listen, I would definitely love that. Again, there was one point where these were the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams in all of Major League Baseball. Mets cooled off slightly, but still right up there with the best.
And you're going to be 2 weeks away from a possible preview of that because Yanks and Mets play each other for 2 at the stadium on July 26th and 27th. So that's going to be fun. Previewing that on the 25th episode. So looking forward to that one, guys. But yeah, for the Mets here, you can't get swept at the absolute minimum. Hopefully you could try to pull out one of the last games and take that momentum to the 4-game set against the Cubs. The Cubs, obviously a weaker team. They're selling at the deadline, and you can beat up on the Cubs and try to salvage the remaining portion of the first half of the season. That's the minimum right there. Mets can't get swept over these next 3 games. And then you look at these pitching matchups that Corey fabulously brought up here. I think they're very evenly matched up pitching.
They are.
Scherzer, who's the interim ace of the staff with Fried, Strider and Peterson, who are having 2 great campaigns. Strider could possibly be the rookie of the year in 2022. And Bassett and Morton. I think that is an even matchup right there. Joe's clapping. What's going on there, Joe?
Guillorme is safe. The Mets score another run. It is now 2-0 with runners on 1st and 3rd.
So already looking good for the New York Metropolitans, but obviously a long game.
Exactly.
Yeah, listen, and I want to talk a little bit about this past weekend. The Mets split with the Marlins, but they had a great day. Retiring Keith Hernandez's number on Saturday. This is something the Mets have been for years neglecting in terms of honoring their past players. I think it shows that this owner knows how to throw a party, throw a celebration for his team, and B, knows how to do the right thing. As far as the number retirement, I love it. Keith is almost a lifelong Met. Came over from St. Louis in that famous trade, was the captain of the 86 team. From a numbers perspective, you're not going to see Keith up on any career leaderboards for the Mets, but he's been with the team basically ever since he was a Met. He's been a broadcaster since the start of SNY with them. This is as much a lifetime achievement award as it is award for the captain of their last World Series team. And it just goes to show you, it was a great day. The way the Mets did it was pure class. They brought out all the stops for it, and really put on a great show. And that was something that the Mets for years had never done. Even the building of the ballpark, it didn't feel like it was a Mets team. It felt like it was honoring a team that left from another borough. And I think the Mets have finally gotten themselves on track to do these things right and do them the right way. And it's not often I say take a page out of the Yankees book in terms of this, but they needed to do that. And when the Yankees do this, although they do way, 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 way too much, they throw a party. It is Yankee Day when this goes down, and that's what it felt like on Saturday for the Mets. And it was fun. Anybody who watched it enjoyed it, and anybody who knows Keith Hernandez can get emotional and get on board with him having his number retired.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised, obviously being on the other side of it. I actually thought Keith Hernandez's number was retired from the Mets, and I was surprised that there was even going to be a ceremony in this. Keith joining 6 other Mets here with being retired number, if you don't include Jackie Robinson's number 42, which is, of course, retired across baseball. Well-deserved for Keith.
We lost Rich's audio
there. Lost Rich.
But definitely now we got a 2-man Mets show. Definitely well-deserved for Keith, though. And what I really like with Keith getting into, I mean, like you touched on earlier, Joe, I mean, you think of Keith Hernandez, you think the Mets. I mean, the guy on TV every night. He's always in your home. You're watching him. And he's been on the TV broadcast, I forget exactly when, but at least since I think it was 2006 when SNY debuted. So he has been with this team since SNY was brought to us in 2006. I just hope with the Mets that we don't get a little cheesy and starting to backfill all of these retirements, because we used to kill them at how restrictive they were and how long it took them to get Piazza in. We sometimes mock the Yankees for retiring every single number for anybody. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Brett Gardner ends up getting his number retired with the Yankees, because that's just how they operate. I just want the Mets, a couple of big names here and there. Keith makes perfect sense, as we just alluded to. I just don't want to see them going crazy, backfilling guys. In my opinion, the very next Met that should get their number retired is David Wright.
Yes.
Do it in a couple of years. Don't, just take your time. Within 2-3 years, it's time to retire number 5, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Well, I mean, that begs the question, who's the next one? I know I would like to see David Wright retired as soon as possible, probably next year. You give each player their own year to kind of build up. But is there anyone else that you have in mind? I think Koosman was way overdue, because Koosman, if he pitched for any other team as long as he did for the Mets, he would have been retired a long time ago. So that was a good one. The question is, who other than Wright is the obvious next guy to get their number retired? Because you can get ridiculous with it. And the Mets have a lot of players that, let's face it, have spent a odd amount of time with the team that never finished their career here. Doc and Darryl are primary examples where they're so integrated into this team's history. However, part of that history comes with their downfall. And when you put them into perspective, Doc in particular, I don't think you can retire Darryl's, but Doc in particular had such legendary years for them, and then just fell off and I ended up leaving and never came back, and has had a rocky history with the team ever since. What do you do with him in terms of his number?
I know, Doc. I mean, when you compare Doc and Strawberry, I agree. I think of the two, I would give the edge to Doc Gooden. I mean, the guy was so. I mean, and listen, we have Doc Gooden as our starting pitcher on New York All-Star Draft. I mean, you look at some of these seasons he had. Triple Crown as a pitcher, the guy was absolutely dominant. It's just a shame what happened with him. What could have been a phenomenal legacy kind of fell apart there at the end. Darryl Strawberry, very similar scenario. Big power bat. Again, fell on a wrong path. Unfortunately, didn't end his career with the Mets. I don't think they end up getting their number retired. I think if one does, it would be Doc. In the chat, how about Mike Parr saying Ed Kranepool? I know that would lead to a very interesting rant.
Love me some Ed Kranepool.
Infamous Ed Kranepool rant.
Ed Kranepool is the one Met, aside from right now, that started and ended his career with the Mets.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't do anything. He wasn't a legendary player by any stretch of the imagination. He only made the All-Star game once. He was on that World Series team in '69. Do you go that route? I mean, he's been there for so many years. And can you go that route? I mean, he wore number 7 for most of his career. And number 7 is now as synonymous with Jose Reyes as it is with Ed Kranepool.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And Jose Reyes is another one of those cusp candidates. Could he be a guy who gets his number retired? In the event he didn't come back to the Mets, I think it's a little less likely. And while he was definitely not the same player in his second stint, he did end his career with the Mets. He had a couple of decent years at the end. So number 7, very interesting number to consider for both players. One very interesting one, I was going to mention it myself, and we have Raj7191 in the chat bringing it up also. What happens if Carlos Beltran makes the Hall of Fame? What happens if he gets in as a New York Met? Is number 15 a possible number to retire? I know the whole Beltran thing, the whole scandal, and then he was the manager and not the manager. That was a whole different rant, and we can go on a whole separate tangent on that. What do you guys think of Beltran and number 15, especially if he gets into the Hall of Fame?
I don't know if Beltran's tenure warrants a retired number. Beltran wasn't with the Mets for, I felt like, more than like 10 years, I'd say. How long was Beltran with the Mets for? We're talking a 7-year tenure?
So let's see. Beltran started his Mets career in 2005, and he ended in 2011, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, basically 6.5 seasons. But outside of David Wright, he had the second highest individual season in terms of WAR. He has the home run record for the Mets prior to Alonso at 41. I mean, that 2006 season was phenomenal. But you look at his Mets tenure, he was an all-star in 5 of those 6.5 seasons with the Metropolitans. And if you look at Beltran's entire career, obviously starting off with the Royals, you had the brief stint with Houston, comes to the Mets, trade to the Giants, and then at the end, St. Louis, Yankees, Texas, back to Houston. We're not going to count his post-Mets career. It really comes down to is it the Mets or is it the Royals in terms of the Hall of Fame? And I honestly look at that. It's the Mets. It's the Mets. His best careers are with the New York Metropolitans.
I think if he goes into the Hall of Fame, he'll be wearing a Mets cap. But the problem with that is now you've had several players wear number 15 since Beltran left. So the Mets clearly have not viewed it, including Matt Reynolds this year. If there was at any point in time a desire to retire his number, why would you let that happen? So I don't think that is in the cards for the Mets. I don't know if I don't know if 16 is as well. Was Darryl 16? Was that it? His number?
Well, listen, Joe's got a great point, and taking it from the fan of the team that retired like 53 of the 100 numbers out there, the Yankees do a job in trying to keep players from wearing certain numbers in order to set that player up for a retired number ceremony. CeCe Sabathia's number 52 hasn't been worn. I mean, I don't think the guy's number should be retired. That's a whole other thing, but
that's a really random number.
52 hasn't been worn. 13 up until Gallo this past year wasn't worn, but they clearly are going to move on from the A-Rod phase there. So, and of course, you got to talk about number 21, which was not worn by anyone except for one player, poor LaTroy Hawkins, who got massacred for wearing the number for a brief stint. So, and that was going on 20 years. So, yeah, I think at this rate, to Joe's point, if 15 was worn multiple times, including a player like Matt Reynolds this year, I think the Mets are probably going to be good on keeping that number active. David Wright's 5 has not been worn by anyone.
That one
has number 7 been worn by anyone?
Listen, yes. 7 has been worn, and I'm going to tell you what, number 17 just retired this past weekend. 15 players have donned the number 17 since Keith Hernandez left. First by David Cohn, so a Met and Yankee both. But you got some random names in here, man. I mean, you got Dae-Sung Koo. You have Jose Lima. I mean, you got some random names in here. The last time 17 was worn, and I think this was around the time that the Wilpons were like, all right, maybe this is a number we want to consider. Last time 17 was worn by a Met was 2010. That was Fernando Tatis Sr.
Right. I mean, that's
08,
the difference.
09, and 10.
That's the difference. And I don't think Doc is in the cards. Travis Janikowski is number 16 right now. They're not gonna retire a number that's being actively worn. You know what's actually interesting? The one number that hasn't been worn since the player retired is Johan Santana's. And again, it's a random
57
number. 57 is a very random number, but that's in there. Piazza's was not worn since Piazza left. Gary Carter's number is no longer worn. I wouldn't be surprised if Carter could theoretically be next. And David Wright is the easiest one.
Yes.
But I don't see Doc or Darryl being retired at this point. What was Darryl? What was Darryl? 18?
Yeah, 18. And Doc was 16.
And Nick Plummer was wearing 18 this year, and Jose Peraza last year. So that's another number. I don't see them retiring those numbers. And again, you get a little bit of oversaturation. I think. I think the Yankees have definitely reached that with the excessiveness that they retire numbers.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Way too
There
much.
are people that listen. They have all-time great, and there's a difference between the Mets and Yankees. And the Yankees have a 70-year bigger history than the Mets, and the Yankees have all-time greats. So their standards should be a little higher. But they have guys like, for example, Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, yes, he was a World Series hero, but he only played 4 seasons with the Yankees. He shouldn't be retired, And you have that number retired. You have, I'm sorry, Paul O'Neill's number shouldn't be retired. Tino Martinez's number shouldn't be retired. When you put guys up there next to Ruth and Gehrig and Yogi Berra and Jeter and Mariano, they're all in the Hall of Fame. So when you put non-Hall of Famers, especially ones that didn't spend their entire career with the Yankees, or even Hall of Famers in Reggie Jackson's case, that only spent a minimal amount of time with the
Like
team.
I said, I don't want to get into it because last year on Savage in the Bronx, I literally filtered out 9 numbers the Yankees should not have retired, including managers. I just think it's silly that a manager even has
Billy
a number.
Martin.
But I don't even think a manager should have a number, but it is what it is. We do have to move forward, guys. And hey, keep posted with us because obviously we have some schedule changes happening. We're going to get into one in a little bit. Best way to be up to date with those news pieces is to follow us on Twitter at ESB Podcast. You can follow Corey at Ggory, Joe at JR Pugs, myself at Rich J. Rivera, and the absent Tom Waspel at 2Spill.
There we go.
All righty, let's get into some Chooch's pick of the week. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Matt is back with his pick. He's 9-4. And honestly, guys, I got to give him some big props. And I had his back 2 weeks ago when he took the Guardians over the Twins 3 out of 5 games. It wasn't looking good. The Twins were obviously on top of the division, and he pulled through and he got the dub. I got to give Matt some big credit there. But let's give Matt his moment to shine here with his pick of the week.
What's up, ESB crew? Chooch here.
If you can hear it.
Chooch's pick of the week. We're back this weekend. We're going to start off with a 4-game series starting tonight. Red Sox versus the Rays. 2 teams competing for that AL wildcard spots. Red Sox coming off 2 hot wins against the Yankees, 2 comeback wins the past 2 days. I think they're going to carry the momentum into their series with Tampa, and I think they're going to take 3 out of 4 games from Tampa. What do you guys think?
All right, Red Sox, Rays, and sorry for the bad audio there. That's not me there. He's got Red Sox over Rays here, 3 out of 4 games. What do you guys got?
I'll tell you what, I like the pick. I'm going to back the Chooch this week. I mean, look at Boston and the Rays. Boston actually jumped Tampa Bay for that second place spot in the AL East this past weekend. Both teams, I mean, if you look at their last 10, Boston only 4-6, although are coming off a 2-game win streak versus the Yankees. Rays 5-5, although they have lost 3 in a row. So both teams, while Boston did come off 2 big wins, both teams not necessarily hot. I'm going to ride with Boston. I'm going to ride that 2-game win streak. I'm going to go with them 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I got to take them 3 out of 4, and it's a little boring. I would take them for a sweep, but McClanahan's pitching one of those games. Listen, the Red Sox are one of those teams. They don't pitch well, but they hit. And I think the Yankees got a dose of that the other day, that even when they don't get a good pitching performance, they can outslug you. The problem with the Red Sox is they get several bad pitching performances, and there are some times where you can't even outslug those performances. So, you know what? The Red Sox are a dangerous team. I think the Yankees showed that even though they're 14 games up on them, they're going to be able to play with anybody. I also think that the Rays are in a little bit of trouble here. Wander Franco is out, 5 to 8 weeks? Is that
Roughly,
it?
yep.
Roughly 5 to 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. They have a subpar offense as it is. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I think they've finally kind of come back down and run out of a little bit of magic. They're going to stick around. They're going to be a pain in the butt, but I don't see them threatening it, either of the Yankees or the Red Sox long-term in this division for the rest of the year.
Rays and Sox actually mixing it up right now. Tampa's got a 5-3 lead on Boston in this first game that featured there. One of their top prospects, Brian Bello, on the mound. Fun note here, the Game 2 matchup, former Yankee Corey Kluber will be on the mound for Tampa Bay, and making his season debut with the Red Sox is Chris Sale. After having his mini temper tantrum, not mini, he really fucked shit up in that dugout. Chris Sale, Corey Kluber, a fun matchup for 2 veterans. Sale, I don't know if Sale won the Cy Young Award. I know, because obviously Corey Kluber did. But yeah, 2 multiple-time All-Stars. That'll be a fun one. I got a split in this one, guys, actually. Tampa and Boston, I love seeing these two just beat up on each other for no apparent reason at all. And I think they're going to do much of the same this week. I got a split between the Red Sox and the Rays. But we'll see what Matt has. He obviously has the Red Sox taking 3 out of 4, and I hope he's right. Hope he can break the 10-win mark here with his Chooch's pick of the week. And to actually check out his 9 other victories of Chooch's pick of the week, I think the best way to do that is to go over YouTube. Joe, what do you got?
Okay, so you can follow us on YouTube at Empire State of Baseball. You can check out our past episodes, some of our best moments. You go to our page, click on the video, watch it, like, share, and subscribe with all your friends, and you can watch us at will anytime.
At will, right. We don't force our viewership to watch our show.
Yep.
But we probably should, because we got good content up there, including our next bit. Joe, what do we got here?
Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a triple play here, and that will be talking about the second half of the regular season, which we are just about at the halfway point of the regular season. So we'll be discussing a couple topics here. First is, let's see, who do you guys have as the MVP of both leagues in the second half? Who do you think that will be? Corey, let's start with you.
Yeah, and listen, I think right now in the AL, I'm going Judge. I mean, you could make the case for Ohtani, but just in terms of numbers, but that team is falling apart. It's not going to be Ohtani. It's not going to be Trout. The Angels are trash. It's going to be Aaron Judge. I'm sorry. Judge is the guy. The reason why the Yankees are where they are, it's because of Aaron Judge and the numbers he's putting up. The NL is where it gets a little more interesting, and it's between 2 first basemen, in my opinion. I want to say Pete Alonso. I want to go with my Met. I'm actually going to go with Paul Goldschmidt, though. I mean, you look at the numbers comparison. Alonso does have a little more power this year, 23 home runs versus Goldschmidt's 19. Alonso also leads the RBIs with 70 against Goldschmidt's 65. But you look at the averages here. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt, 340. I mean, I don't care if batting average is trending out of style right now. You have a 340 average, you could play on my team any day. OPS 1.034. I mean, both of those numbers shatter Alonso. And right now, I tell you what, St. Louis 2.5 games back of Milwaukee, for the NL Central lead. I'm actually going to go with St. Louis winning that division at the end of the year. A big reason for that is going to be Paul Goldschmidt. He will be my NL MVP.
Yeah, I'm actually in complete agreement with Corey Favs here. So I'm not changing a thing of what he said. What he said was absolutely perfect. Has nothing to do with me not preparing for this segment at all. But I agree with Corey here. Judge, obviously, I think hands down. And when you want to define who should be the MVPs of the league, obviously, I think of teams first that are playoff bound teams. And without said player would not be a playoff team. That's at least my definition. Obviously, the definition has been thrown out multiple times, and we've had these arguments in the past, leaving last year's case of Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Shohei Ohtani. And Vladdy Jr. is clearly playing on a team that was a playoff contending team. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were right there. The Angels were dead in the water. Trout obviously has won multiple MVPs with the Angels. My interpretation of the MVP should be the player that is the prime reason why your team is in the playoff conversation. And I think without Aaron Judge, the Yankees aren't even close. And with the Cardinals and Paul Goldschmidt, I think the Cardinals need this. They need Paul Goldschmidt in that lineup to be the National League Central Division winners. Without him, they are nothing. And I think you look at the Mets end, and Pete Alonso obviously it would be the next guy for me. I think the Mets could still get by with a loss of Pete Alonso. I think that lineup is deep enough, and they're going to make better moves. Their starting pitching is fantastic. The Mets are going to be in there with or without a healthy or productive Alonso. I don't think the Cardinals are anywhere scratching the surface of the postseason without Goldschmidt. So I agree with you, Corey. I'm going Goldschmidt and Judge as well.
See, I misunderstood the assignment.
Oh God.
I thought we were going
go to number two.
Who is going to be your second half MVP?
Oh,
because we kind of know who the MVPs are gonna be. That was my interpretation that we're talking about.
We also have the next question, which I guess would perfectly answer what you thought would be the answer for this question, which would be the breakout star. But if you had to revise your answer right now, who do you think will win the league MVP for both leagues?
Breakout star is different than MVP.
No. I'm saying breakout star is different from no. I think breakout star and second half MVP coincide. No,
I don't think so at all. Because let's say I'll put it to you this way. I could put Bobby Witt Jr. as your second half breakout, right?
Okay.
He's not going to be an MVP. He's not an MVP to anybody. So, all right. So listen. So as far as the MVP awards, I'll do both here because I'm good like that. I know it off the top of my head. We'll roll like that. As far as the MVP awards, I can't disagree with Judge here. I can't disagree with Paul Goldschmidt at the moment. I think there's a little room in there for a guy like Manny Machado to kind of inch his way in there. I see the Cardinals falling off. I don't think they have the pitching to keep pace with the Brewers ahead of them. They've had a rough few weeks here. So it seems that the Cardinals always kind of stick around long enough to steal it from somebody. I don't know if they have the pitching, and I don't know if they have the ability to go out and get the pitching that they need to compete this year. Goldschmidt had about as good a half as he could have had, and that's still probably not enough to keep them in the hunt. So I think it's wide open. I think Goldschmidt right now has the edge in MVP, but I can see somebody taking that from him. As far as the MVP of the second half, who I think is going to make the most impact on the playoff race, I actually think, assuming he comes back, is going to be Jacob deGrom, because you are going to put the best starter that any team can add into that rotation. That is going to change the landscape of the NL. And the Mets have, I think it's after this series, 13 games left with the Braves. There's a chance deGrom could pitch in 4 or 5 of those games and make a huge impact on the division. As far as the AL, I think it's Judge. I don't want to hear the Ohtani thing. The Angels are terrible. I've said it now for over a month. The Angels, the only way out of the hell that they have created for themselves over the past few years is if they turn around and trade Ohtani at the deadline. They would get a franchise change in amount of picks, but I can't give him the MVP for a second straight year when for a second straight year, the Angels have gone into the cellar. I don't care what he's done when Judge is over here threatening the home run record. I understand he's excited. I understand he is technically the MVP every year, but for me, that's not the case. As far as the MVP of the second half, I'm going to have to go with Vlad Jr. I think that it's only a matter of time before we see the Blue Jays get red hot. They are not going to catch the Yankees, but this offense has kind of been up and down, up and down, up and down all year. They are going to put together, maybe it's in the month of August or maybe it's late into September. They are going to put together a run where they are absolutely decimating opponents. I think he's got a lot of room for a second half MVP that will propel the Blue Jays to a playoff spot and make you really wonder if this team is the team that we talked about in the preseason.
All right. So number 2, and we alluded to it before, and I'll lead Corey into this one. The breakout star of the second half will be.
And I'm going to tell you what, my breakout star is actually going to be a second half breakout team. I'm actually going to go with the Chicago White Sox, currently under 500 at 41-43. This team is too talented to not be a 500 team. The AL Central is arguably the worst division in baseball. My second half breakout team is the Chicago White Sox. They are going to win the AL Central. I'm not going to guess by how many games, but this is a team with too much talent that is not going to turn around. White Sox, AL Central, I'm locking it in.
All right, I altered it. The breakout of the second half will be, and I like the choice of team there, the Chicago White Sox, which, I mean, for most part, has disappointed. This White Sox team was destined to make a late run into the playoffs. And of course, we could throw the AL Central tag on them. It's the worst division in baseball. But this White Sox team, we saw the talent, the young talent that they were bringing up, and La Russa kind of keeping the guys together. But it's been the exact opposite. Injuries. The fans in the team has turned on La Russa. Some bad production out of some of their consistent players. I mean, the White Sox have disappointed. So to see them emerge as a second half breakout, very likely. Anything can happen in that American League Central Division. I like that choice there, Corey.
Thank you. Yep, but that's who I'm rolling with. I'm rolling with the White Sox. That's my pick there for my breakout. And if I want to give an NL second half breakout, I mean, I'm just thinking. I mean, I honestly just want to roll with the White Sox. That's the one I really feel good with.
I have an NL breakout.
Yeah, go ahead, give it.
So the breakout of the second half will be Juan Soto. Juan Soto, who has struggled. I mean, he's struggled mightily in the first half. He's an all-star, and I don't think he should not be an all-star this year, selected for the team, but also just announced added to the home run derby field, which this home run derby field is lit as shit.
That's going to be a fun
Juan
derby.
Soto, right now at a 243 clip, 17 bombs, 37 RBIs, an OPS overall of 870, which is definitely a tick below some of his better years. Soto was a pick for me last year as well. Corey, I think you remember. You were on an episode of Leading Off. You actually co-hosted the show with me for one episode. We were doing second half predictions, and I said then Juan Soto is going to be the guy you watch. And I feel confident once again that Juan Soto is just a perennial second half guy. I'm going to stick with it. Juan Soto, second half breakout for me.
I like the pick.
Listen, I'll changing course quick to the home run derby. I love the fact that Pujols just went in. I love the fact that Soto's in, Alonso's in. But let me tell you something. There should be immense pressure on Aaron Judge to compete in this because he is the premier slugger in the game of baseball right now, and he needs to compete in this derby. We just went through all this negotiations. We went through a delayed start of the season. We're all about putting on a show for MLB and marketing their players and everything. Judge needs to participate in this.
He's a former champion.
He needs to throw MLB a bone. All right. We need to work. They need to work together to market the game. And nothing would be bigger than Judge slugging off against Pete Alonso and Pujols and Juan Soto. And Acuna, I believe, is now in
And
it too.
Acuna as well is in it as
Bring
well.
the biggest stars in the game under the lights for one night and show off the power. Judge should do it. He shouldn't. It shouldn't be a doubt. And both the Yankees and MLB should put immense pressure on him to do it because it is the right thing for the game of baseball, and that's a big thing.
I'm going to ask the chat too. Who should round out the field of the home run derby? I think right now only 4 spots are confirmed. Now it's Soto, Acuna, Alonso, and Pujols. Did I miss anybody?
Soto, Acuna, yeah, I think that's it right now.
I think it's it. So I think that's there's 4 spots left. So they only fill half the field. So who would you like to see round out that field? Give me 4 guys. You guys don't have to give me. The chat here can give me 4 guys.
I think we're going to get a Dodger in it. I wouldn't be surprised if Bellinger's in it, but
I agree with you. Stan and or Judge should be in this home run derby. You want the perennial sluggers in this event. You don't want guys who are just clipping double digits that are going to hit you 3 home runs in the first round. Nobody wants to see that. I want to see the absolute best sluggers in this. I want to see guys who have the chance to hit a 500-foot bomb, maybe a CJ Crone, maybe hell, even a big boy like Franmil Reyes. Give it to me.
Rowdy Tellez.
Yes.
That's a unit. That's a refrigerator. Him and Vogelback, put them both in.
You said Tellez. I thought you said Alvarez. Alvarez would be
perfect. Alvarez too. Right? Alvarez absolutely should.
Alvarez is hurt, but
Alvarez is hurt, so he has an excuse not to. I'll give it to him. But Judge needs to do it. We've seen Stanton do it, and Stanton gets a pass if he doesn't want to do it.
But Judge, you know what? I like the idea of having former Derby champions in it too, with a chance to like defend their crown. Stanton's won it. Judge has won it. I don't know who else who has won in the past that's not in it right now. I think Guerrero. Didn't Guerrero win it one year? So that's another guy.
Guerrero. Again, Guerrero, I think, has done it 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row. Whatever it is. You get a pass if you do it. Judge has never done it. Judge needs to do it. All right. You are the MVP of the league this year. You need to participate. And again, it's for the betterment of the game. I don't care about the swing bowl crap. I don't care about any of that. He is the MVP. He should be there. It would be an electric atmosphere. If imagine the 2 of the best teams in baseball, the Mets and Yankees. You imagine you have Judge and Alonso going at it in the finals. Yeah. I mean that you couldn't ask for a better final. Right. There's no way you could ask for with Alonso being a 2-time champion.
Matt brings up a great point. We're going to need a Dodger in this. They are at Dodger Stadium.
Dodgers will do it.
So if it's going to be Freeman, that could be a choice. Mookie's had a nice season, nice bounce back season, just coming off the injury. So yeah, Dodgers need some representation. Maybe there might be an Angel just because they are in the crosstown rival. Not really, but they're kind of in the crosstown rival. Maybe
actually, I will give credit. He did do it in Miami in his rookie year. So Judge did. But yes, I think the thing is I don't want to see Mookie Betts. I don't pick Mookie Betts isn't a home run hitter to me in the quintessential sense. I think Freeman or Bellinger would be your choice.
Right.
And I actually think I'm going to go on. All right. So here's my bold prediction for the second.
Okay. Wait. Hold on. You didn't do your breakout yet.
Okay. My breakout
candidate
is Riley Green from Detroit Tigers. I'm not just saying that because I have him on my fantasy team. The kid looks fantastic. He looks like a game changer for them. He's hitting the ball. He can steal bases. He plays plus defense in center field. He is going to be a fantastic player in this league. And I think he's just going to change the direction of the Tigers along with Torkelson. But Riley Green is my breakout candidate for the Tigers. I know, give them a little spice to end the year.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. And that brings us
we lost Rich
again. Oh, no, we lost him again. I'll tell you what, going back to the home run derby, man, I mean, we have a lot of NL candidates right now mentioned. I mean, I'm just thinking of some other guys, some of those big brute sluggers that I'd love to see in it. I mean, Kyle Schwarber is one. Would love to see him come up. Alvarez, I'd love to see him smash some balls in there. Another random name, Adolis Garcia. I just feel like he would be that random guy who comes in and gets some pop in the home run derby. But it's going to be a fun derby this year, especially if you get one of those two Yankees in there, whether it's Judge or a Stanton. We'll see which one may or may not join. Maybe both. Who knows? But definitely going to be a fun derby this year. I can't wait for that show that we're going to have later this month. Actually, next week. Forget about later this month. Next week.
Next week.
That's going to be a fun show.
Next week. We'll have a little preview on it in a little bit as we wrap up the show. Number 3 here on the Triple Play. Joe, start us off. My boldest prediction of the second half is?
My boldest prediction of the second half. So I got a two-party here. One is if Bellinger participates in the Derby, I think that's the exact thing that could fix his swing and propel him back to MVP status. It's one of those things where we say the Derby can break a swing. I think in Bellinger's case, the Derby could help his swing. So I think if he participates in the Derby, he could get back to MVP form. My second biggest prediction in the second half, and we're excluding playoffs here, so I'll save my playoff predictions for later when Tom is here and he can have a stroke live on the podcast. My second biggest prediction, and I don't think it's that far out of a limb. I think the Mariners are going to make the playoffs and sneak into the wild card. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with to any team. That I don't think there's going to be a team that wants to face them heading into the postseason. But I think the Mariners have a run in them. I don't think they're going to threaten the division. I don't think they're going to threaten Houston. That ship has sailed. But I think the Mariners are going to finally put it all together in the second half. They have maybe, I hate to say it, maybe the reincarnation of Ken Griffey Jr. and Julio Rodriguez. Ooh. I mean, he is that good. He is special. And if you ever watch things about Griffey and when he came up and how he changed that franchise, Julio's doing the same thing.
Oh yeah,
he is a unbelievable talent, and I think that they are going to propel. Ty France is having a great year. I think if Mitch Haniger can get healthy, he can have a great year. They have the pitch and pieces with Gilbert, Ray. If Ray decides that he actually wants to show up for a big game once in a while, they got the pieces to play, and I think that they're going to be in the hunt and in the conversation for the rest of the year.
No, definitely a good pick. Definitely a good pick. I tell you what, I got to go back because Joe mentioned Jacob deGrom earlier, and I got to tell you what, I have deGrom in my bold prediction for the second half. I'm predicting that deGrom is not only going to come back, he's going to pick up where he left off.
Wow,
you consolidate the 15 starts he had last year with the 10 to 15 starts he'll have this year, I'm predicting that he will be right on pace to potentially beat Bob Gibson's 1.12 ERA. He was already beating that whip. He was at about 0.5 whip deGrom last year before he got hurt. Gibson had a 0.853 whip. The ERA will be tough. I mean, 1.12, that is hard to beat. That is unfathomably hard, 1.12. I think combined last year and the remainder of this year when deGrom comes back, they are going to baby him a little bit. They're going to pull him after 5. They're going to pull him after 5 2/3. That's actually going to help the ERA, though, a little bit as well because he's not going to go deep. He's not going to give up those 6th, 7th inning home runs second, third time in the order. I'm going to go bold prediction. deGrom picks up where he leaves off with a sub 1.5 ERA, potentially challenging Gibson.
Corey, we leaning more bold prediction or wishful thinking there?
Oh, I'm going bold prediction, baby. Listen, I'm wishful and bold. Wishful and bold. What can I say?
All right, I got mine. Am I allowed to beat a dead horse here, guys?
Yes.
All right, I'll beat a dead horse. We haven't done a lot of Yankee talk on today's show, so I'm just gonna keep it riding. The New York, I'm gonna set myself up here. My boldest prediction of the second half is the New York Yankees will release Joey Gallo if he's not defeated by the deadline. There is no way that this man is going to have a spot on this team come August 1st. There is no way he's going to be factored into their plans. And seemingly over the last few years, too, I think it's like that's the time. If the Yankees kind of stand pat or don't make those moves to shift Gallo out of the current position he is with the team, which right now is more of a platoon situation. He's hitting 9th. He's not really getting those pivotal at bats. So you're not really cutting bait with something, a position of significance right now, you basically are adding by subtracting, which we've talked about plenty of times on this show. Joey Gallo, there's no way this guy is even going to, there's no way the Yankees are going to make fans fear that he's going to be in a playoff lineup. So I think this is going to be the time where the Yanks are just going to cut ties. They're going to cut bait with the guy. They're going to say, hey, we gave up 4 prospects for him. It didn't work out. It was the one bad trade the Cashmans made over the last 2 seasons that did not work out for this team. They got to make the move to go Pascal. I really don't think there's a candidate that's willing to take him. Maybe Texas, we can take a chance on him again and give up basically nothing for him. I don't think there's a team that's willing to bail out the Yankees here. I think he's getting released, and I think the Yankees will make a move within their minor league system, whether they're going to recall Miguel Andujar if he makes it past the deadline. They'll call up somebody that's going to get the job done, or someone who's actually going to help in a big regard. Gallo will not be on this team come August 1st. That's my bold prediction.
And I'll tell you what, don't tell Tom, because Tom still thinks you're getting a top 10 prospect for him. But I actually have a very interesting Gallo replacement, and reaching out to our good old Chooch of the week, M-Took45, one of his all-time favorite Yankees, number 11, Brett Gardner, future retirement ceremony in Monument Park for that number 11, will be back on the New York Yankees come August, getting the veteran leader back for the playoff run. It is happening, baby. If they cut Gallo, watch. You're going to see the announcement. Yankees re-sign, bring back Brett Gardner out of retirement. He's going to be in minor leagues for 3 weeks and back with the Yankees come September, taking valuable playing time from the kids and going on a playoff run once again.
You're fired, Corey. You're fired. Joe, what's your bold prediction of the second half? Oh, you already gave your bold prediction of the second half. We're done. We're done. Excellent. We did it. All right, guys. Well, that was fun. We want to hear some of your bold predictions, of course. And the best way to do that is to hit up all our social medias. We got a ton of that activity happening. We had a great post today on our Instagram revealing, of course, our all-star lineups, our New York all-time all-star lineups that we did last week on the show, which was a lot of fun. You can check it out on YouTube, Empire State of Baseball, but always, I just said Instagram, at Empire State of Baseball. A lot of information I'm throwing at you guys at 100 miles an hour. Make sure to follow us Twitter at ESB Podcast for the latest and greatest, including our scheduling announcement, which we've mentioned multiple times in the show. So there not be any error. One more time for you guys. Next week's show, which will be on Monday, will be at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. So we have a special start time. So we don't get in the way of the home run derby, of course. We have the all-star festivities happening. So we're going to get into some all-star stuff, talk about some selections, the snubs, all that great stuff. And we got a nice home run derby segment for you guys planned for next week, where we're going to talk an all-time home run derby. We don't know who's going to be in it yet, but you guys can find out too next week on the 7 p.m. Eastern time next Monday. And let's wrap things up with a player to be named later. I talked a lot. So Joe, Corey, what do you guys have for me on the Mets front?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I got one name right now. I'm not going to say it, obviously. Positional player. Played about half of his career with both the American and the National League. If you look just at the games played, it's actually quite a bit more with the NL. But if you look at the years, it's almost an even split. 8 years in the NL, 7 years with the AL. I'm not going to tell you if he was a Met or Yankee, but he did play for one of those two teams. Positional player. One more hint over here. This is a guy who did hit over 300 home runs in his career total.
Damn it. I don't have Tom here, so I can't lean on him trying to guess it wrong. Let's just start it off with Mike Cameron.
It is not Mike Cameron. No. Not a terrible guess in the sense that the outfielder played for both AL and NL, but not Mike Cameron.
Okay. Did the player play in the same kind of time frame as Mike Cameron?
Yes, almost the same exact time frame.
So outfielder around that same time frame, split both the American League and National League, position player. Let's
go to one more hint. I'll give you one more hint.
Yeah,
All
give
right.
me one more hint. Give me one
All
more
right.
hint. I'm handicapped here.
Yeah. Of the New York teams, he did play with the New York Mets, but a bulk of his career, not all of it, obviously, but he did play a large percentage of his career with a Yankee rival with the Blue Jays.
Not Delgado, right?
Not Delgado. Again, good guess because it's almost the
you said
same
outfielder,
era.
right. You said outfielder.
Outfielder, but almost
Oh
the
boy,
same era.
who we got here? I don't even know if he was a Met. I was gonna say Frank Catalanato, but I don't think so.
He was a Met. I think
was a Met.
in 1 year, I believe. I want to say 09 or 2010.
Okay.
But not Catalanato.
Let me get one more guess in here. Is he? I mean, we have the All-Star game coming up. Is he a former All-Star?
He was a 2-time All-Star.
Okay, here we go.
The All-Stars were with 2 separate teams. Once with the Blue Jays, once with the Dodgers, never with the Mets.
Okay, Dodgers, Blue Jays, All-Star, never with the Mets. Sean Green.
Sean Green it is.
Bingo.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Handicapped it all, baby. Sean Green. Do we have any correct guesses in the chat? No, we didn't, baby.
Yeah,
Sean
Rich
Green.
stumped the chat. We had Robin Ventura, not a terrible guess. Jason Bay, again, outfielder, not a terrible guess. But Jason Bay, I believe, only played in the AL in his brief Red Sox tenure, and he killed it for that Red Sox team, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But not Bay or Ventura. Rich, you beat the chat, and it's not Eddie Munson Serrato.
Sean Green. All right. Excellent. All right. So my guy, I wish I kind of kept with the theme of the All-Star, but my guy here never was an All-Star. However, he is an active player in baseball.
Ooh, okay.
Good player. Okay.
And he only played 1 season with the Yankees. And that season being 2017.
Active 2017. That's making me wonder, was it a 1-year prove-it deal? Did he get traded? Maybe a deadline acquisition with an expiring contract?
I can actually tell you the transaction. That'll
give it away, won't it?
He was signed as a free agent by the Yankees.
Okay.
And then he was released by the Yankees as well.
Ooh,
so
makes it a little
he's in
tough.
between unemployment stints, but he's still an active player in baseball.
Still an active player in baseball. 2017 Yankees. Obviously was not doing good with the Yankees, but he's still playing, so he's got to be good enough.
Mm-hmm. And he plays against the Yankees a lot because he's in the American League East.
I was gonna say, well, Chris Carter's not.
No, Carter. I don't even think he's playing in Korea anymore. He's done. Nice guess though. I think Carter did play that 17 campaign.
This is tough. What position player or pitcher?
He is a position player. I don't know why I had to look that up.
Okay.
It's a position player.
Okay.
1 season with the Yanks, 2017. He was picked up as a free agent, then he was released by the same team. He's still an active player who plays in the American League East. Not an All-Star.
Okay.
But I would say he's having his best season thus far.
His best season thus far. So he's definitely a guy who's playing good enough to remain in the majors for this long. Ooh, I'm just thinking. Position player.
Some of them don't fit. I'm thinking of like, Tyler Wade was on the
very
team.
Forgotten Yankee, and we have a correct answer in the chat.
Oh, I saw the chat. I wasn't going to guess. I was actually going to guess Ref Schneider.
That would have been a great guess, but no, it's not Ref Schneider.
No, not
Ref Schneider's having his best season.
Yeah.
You know anything? Corey, you already saw the answer, did you?
I saw the answer, so I'm going to defer to Joe.
Let me get one more guess in. I did not see it yet.
He is, his predominant position is first base.
It's not Greg Bird.
Nope.
Definitely not Greg Bird.
But first, all right. So then the only first baseman left is G-Man Choi.
And
Yeah,
correct. It is G-Man Choi. G-Man Choi,
because there's no other first baseman in the AL East that could have
played all of 6 games with the Yankees. He had actually 2 home runs with the team, but yes, he was unfortunately DFA'd and eventually released by the team. He didn't do enough damage, but he did do enough damage against Garrett Cole down the line as a Tampa Bay Ray. So G-Man Choi is my player to be named later.
G-Man.
And on that note, we're 5 minutes over time, so we're going to wrap this up with some quick thank yous. Joe, get us started here, man.
Yeah, no, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the chat. Thank you everybody who's listening, tuning in, and thank you to everybody who's logging into YouTube to watch us on YouTube as well. And thank you for my wife for coming home early enough so I could pick her up from the bus stop without interfering with the show.
So, there you go.
There
you go. I'll tell you what, right now I'm going to thank Max Scherzer. I want to thank you for calming the Braves offense a little bit. Still early, only the top of the 6th. A lot of crap could still happen, but 2-0 Mets lead right now. Thank you, Scherzer, for being the man. I love you, Mad Max.
Yes, and I want to thank all our ladies and gentlemen of the chat, our Chooches of the chat. Matt for another Chooches pick of the week. Joe and Corey for holding it down, and Tom for not showing up to work today. Thank you guys, and we'll see you here next week. Remember, 7 p.m. next Monday, the Home Run Derby and All-Star Special of Empire State of Baseball. We'll see you guys there. Take care.